In this video, we're going to cover some specific things about the slope of parallel lines and perpendicular lines. So in your class, on your quizzes and tests, most likely you will be asked to find either a slope or an equation of a line that's parallel or perpendicular to a line that's already given. So this video is going to help you with that. It's going to help you with all the homework problems related to this subject. So quickly, just as a review, parallel lines are two lines that are an equal distance from one another. So this distance is exactly the same throughout the length of these two lines. So if the distance is the same, direction is the same, what can we conclude about the slope of parallel lines? It's the same. So let's say this is y2 and this is y1. So m1 will be equal to m2. They have the same slope. Both of them go through different points. Both of them will have different x-intercept and different y-intercept, if any at all. But the slope remains the same. Okay, now let's consider another case or another pair of lines, in this case, perpendicular. So perpendicular lines are lines that intersect at a right angle. And depending on where you learned math, most likely, or most of you are acquainted with this label for right angle, but for some of the people that are from Europe, this is also a label that is very commonly used for the right angle. Okay, so for this example, let's assume that the equation of this line right here is equal to y equal, I don't know, let's do 5x plus 2. And oftentimes in your class, you will be asked to find the slope of this line or find a complete equation given a point. And, you can try to figure it out on your own if you have a graph and calculate it manually using the formula for the slope. But there's something I want to point out. M2, right, the slope of the second line, given the slope of the first one, is equal to negative reciprocal. So negative basically fraction over this number right here. In this case, it's 5, but I'm going to label it as A. So we can conclude that M2 slope of the second line that's perpendicular to y equal 5x plus 2 is simply equal to negative 1 over 5. And that's it. That's all you need to know about parallel and perpendicular lines, at least when it comes to finding the slope. Now, another pair of questions or another set of questions that you will most likely see in your class is finding the complete equation of a line given the first slope. So let's say, first let's do an example for parallel lines. In first case, we're going to have a line that's denoted as y equal to 3x plus 2. And we need to find a line that's parallel. So I'm just going to label it like this. And passes through point P. Let's say that point is 2, 3. Okay, so what we need to pay attention to, the equation of this line is basically irrelevant, right? Because we want to find a line that's parallel to it, but all we need to take out is the slope. And once again, the slope of parallel lines is exactly the same. So we don't need to do any math around it. It remains 3. So all we have to do right now is use the point slope formula, which is y equal y minus y1 equal to m times x minus x1, where y1 and x1 are the coordinates from our point P. We already know that m is 3, so let's just plug in the numbers and work it out. Y minus 3 is equal to 3 times x minus 2. Let's just move some things around so we can get our line in a slope-intercept form. So I'm going to do it quickly in my head and skip some steps. Minus 6 plus 3, and it turns out that the line that's parallel to our original line, 3x plus 2, has the same slope, 3x, but instead it goes through point, or the y-intercept of the line is -3. And that's how you find an equation of a line that's parallel to the original line and passes through a point. For the second example, we're going to work with a line that's perpendicular to the original line. So let's consider the same case. Let's consider y is equal to 3x plus 2. And we need to find a line. So find a line that's perpendicular, so crosses this line at exactly right angle and passes through point and passes through point, let's call it point Q, equal to, let's think of some clever numbers, perhaps just 1 and 3. Okay, so when it comes to perpendicular line, always remember, start with adjusting the slope or finding the slope of the line that's perpendicular to your original line. How do you do it? You find a negative reciprocal. So if m1 is equal to 3, then m2 will be equal to -1/3. And that automatically makes the second line perpendicular to our y equal to 3x plus 2. Now, all that's left is to use the information we have and plug it into the point slope formula. Once again, it's y minus y1 equal to m2 x minus x1. Let's plug in the numbers. So we have y minus 3 equals to -1/3 times x minus 1. So we're going to have y equal to -1/3x. -1/3 times -1 is +1/3, and we're going to add 3 from the left side, but I'm going to write as a fraction, so 3 can be expressed as 9/3. So that way we have an equation of a line that looks like this: -1/3x plus 1/3 plus 9/3 is 10/3. And we are done. This is the equation of a line that's perpendicular, so crosses our original line at exactly right angle, and our original line is y equal to 3x plus 2. So there's not much more to perpendicular lines and parallel lines, but just be comfortable finding the slope of a perpendicular line, and keep in mind that slopes of parallel lines are exactly the same because they are an equal distance to one another.